All conditioned phenomena is what we're experiencing in consciousness. And yet all conditioned phenomena that we're experiencing at this moment is received. It's a receptive, natural state of being. It's not discriminating. So that's why we call it intuitive. Because you're not focused on anything or trying to find anything, but just opening, receiving, listening, attentive. So then all these Dhamma teachings are skillful means for investigating. Like even the Four Noble Truths, if you really trust in this practice, then that is a very skillful way of investigating experience, because we all have our vipaka kamma. So we have, each one of us is going to experience vipaka kamma, or the resultant karma. And that karma is going to be different from one being to the other, because we have different karma. We have common, human karma and things like that we share. But on emotional tendencies or memories, hereditary conditions and so forth, we're all different. So we have these individual conditions. We all have our own particular reactions to experience, our cultural conditioned attitudes and sense of self and all that comes through generation, through culture, through ethnic background, through whatever, conditions that have affected our lives from the birth of this body to the present moment. But with awareness, then this is embracing the whole of that, The vipaka kamma now is this. Now listening to the news, you hear all these kind of depressing, the news is always quite depressing these days. It's all about how many people have been blown up by bombs, or in Afghanistan, in Palestine, in Iraq. And then there's fear and there's dishonesty and corruption all the time. You don't trust the governments anywhere. They lie, and they're just out to get our votes and to delude us. So it's when you hear the news about the Labour and Tory parties, that they aren't interested in our awakening, but in convincing us that we should go side with them, to have preferences or strong views and opinions. So these are just the way the world operates. And it's always been like that. There's always been, one tribe looking down on another, and one class consciousness and racism and so forth. These are just the result of ignorance and attachment and conditioning. So and that's going to go on, even though we can become more idealistic about it, and more kind of altruistic. It still operates, because that dualism is the basic delusion. We're trapped into delusion as what we consider as real, as our reality. And the basic delusion is self. I am this person, this body. Now if I take self out of it, then there's consciousness. And consciousness is natural, it's not cultural, it's not personal, but it's real. it's not airy-fairy and something that it depends on high level or deep concentration or deep, profound Dhamma experiences or anything. As long as you're caught in that dualism of thinking of deep meditation and then shallow meditation, isn't it? We've got to go deeper and deeper, and so this brings up the sense of yourself as not being deep enough. You haven't really gone deep enough yet, and so you've got to practice harder in order to have a deeper meditation and get more samadhi and stop your wandering mind. And all this is from the self-view, and this is Sakkaya-ditthi, complete Sakkaya-ditthi. So you can see after years of practice, from that Sakkaya-ditthi position, you're going to be disappointed. It's not going to work because, you can get tranquility through controlling things. But how long can you spend your life controlling the world so that you can maintain tranquility? Or is it much more substantial than just a kind of delicate level of refined samadhi? The reality of now isn't delicate. It's just, it's always this way. Present, pure presence, awareness. And the delicacies are around, desires and preferences and so forth, and memories. You have memories of wanting a peaceful meditation practice, wanting a good vasa retreat. Peaceful. You don't want to be in a place where there's a lot of unpleasant things happening, because you want peaceful practice with peaceful conditions and harmonious friendships and everything like that, just so I feel peaceful and I can get my practice together. And if that's what you're doing, then of course, you can get some peace by, controlling everything around you. But when you lose that control, what happens? One just one gets frustrated and fed up. So therefore, like the Sangha life isn't meant to be, the experience of peacefulness and harmony. We're not here to live in harmony and peace, but through awakeness. Through attention, through investigating the suffering we do have. So if our aim is to create a community of, an ideal community of harmonious meditators, it's not going to work. We won't. Sometimes it might be like that, but you can't sustain it on that level. Things change, come and go. People become inspired and disillusioned, and then people disrobe, and people die, and people commit suicide, and they bomb people in Iraq and Afghanistan. And they did in London a few years ago, and in America. And then there's floods and hurricanes and earthquakes and tsunamis and tidal waves and volcanoes. So, in other words, what is the priority? What is the purpose? And that is awakened awareness. And seeing things as they are. So knowing Dhamma, recognizing, realizing the way it is. And so it's not defined, if I say the way it is. Even if I say all conditions are impermanent, that's not that's not a kind of what I'm asking you to believe, that all conditions are impermanent. Or that by believing or reiterating that statement, all conditions are impermanent, you really understand Dhamma. But that's a reflection, so that the conditions, whether they're refined or coarse or personal or right or wrong or good or bad, they're impermanent, gross or subtle. And that which is aware, that awareness of conditions, is the unconditioned. So that's why I call it the deathless. And that's consciousness, pure consciousness with awareness. In terms of the reality of this moment, here and now. So in terms of this moment, is consciousness the deathless and all that kind of thing? You can get into kind of arguments and about what consciousness really is and what it is in Pali and in the scriptures and how it's used and so forth. But in terms of this moment, this is all that there is. So the investigation is to penetrate it now, not through scriptural views or through ideas or definitions of consciousness, but recognizing, that this moment, consciousness. Are you experiencing consciousness? Anyone unconscious right now? And how are you experiencing consciousness? Through a self? You think Ajahn Sumedho is just rubbish? Ajahn Sumedho's got it all wrong? What's he talking about? Or God, it's really profound, or whatever. That's not it either. It's just this pure state of attentiveness that I recognize through the sound of silence. And when I use that term, what I'm aware of is this the kind of resonating, vibratory. Is it a sound or a vibration or whatever? But I'm not interested in the terminology even, but in the reality of it. It's like this. And then resting in this, Ajahn Sumedho dissolves, dies. There's no Sumedho in it. The sense of me as a separate person, as a personality, ceases. But there is consciousness, and it's like this. So this is the testing ground, is this moment, here and now, from the point you're in, from the body, the karma, the conditions, the way you are emotionally, physically, mentally, or psychologically, or whatever, is like this. That awareness is always putting the psychological as an object. If you're feeling inspired or depressed or sad or happy or peaceful or confused, the awareness of that, awareness of the condition, awareness of the body, awareness of the sensory impingement, of sound or sight, of smell, taste, touch.